When did you and Lisa tie the knot? The couple had been married for 36 years. Clearly, she was never an option throughout those 36 years. You drop by Poppy's place. Instead of her coming to your house, you should visit hers. After a moment of clarity, she thinks, maybe I can figure this out. At that point, you deactivate your heart. It's beyond my comprehension. Sure, I understand, but I will insist that Christians, particularly those in positions of leadership or ownership of counseling centers, should be subject to higher standards of conduct. In a marriage, both partners should put forth their best effort to keep the marriage strong. There was Joni Lamb in the mix as well. Oh, I see. This alternative option looked like it could be a good fit. Okay, but you've started talking already. I get it, but by that time, you're already talking. Very well. You were married for 36 years, though, so that's the difference. Is it 36? When did you and Lisa tie the knot? 36. Clearly, she was never an option throughout those 36 years. You drop by Poppy's place. Instead of her coming to your house, you should visit hers. After a moment of clarity, she thinks, maybe I can figure this out. At that point, you deactivate your heart. It's beyond my comprehension. But, I repeat, that is my point. Christians, particularly those in positions of leadership or who run counseling centers, should still be subject to higher standards, in my opinion. In a marriage, both partners should put forth their best effort to keep the marriage strong. Very well, very well. No, the point I'm trying to make is that she wanted to make things right, so there was still an opportunity for you when a husband decides to divorce his wife after a short time married. It might not seem out of the ordinary, but after 36 years, is it? All that devotion, shared memories, and love that had been promised was tossed aside as if it didn't matter. When Doug Weiss divorced Lisa Weiss and married a widow who had recently lost her husband, the same thing occurred to him. Just now, a disturbing audio call from Jonathan Lamb and Doug Weiss made its way public. Doug explained his decision to divorce Lisa Weiss, his wife of 36 years, in it. Before we continue, you are all loved by me. Please subscribe, click the bell, and click the like button so you won't miss any faith-based news or talks. If you had been paying attention, one thing would have been crystal clear. Getting back together with Doug Weiss's ex-wife was never in his plans. He treated Lisa with complete lack of credibility and showed no signs of regret, sadness, or even a desire to reflect on the time they spent together. Now consider this question. How could a man who dated the same woman for nearly 4 decades not speak highly of her? Even when a relationship ends, the people involved usually treat each other with some dignity. However, after hearing Doug speak, I imagined a man whose heart and mind were completely empty of any feelings for Lisa. A lot of warning signs are present here. Doug should have told her how much he missed them if he was the one who initiated the breakup. Some disagreement or consideration of what went wrong ought to have ensued, didn't it? Rather, he uttered words that were heartless, disrespectful, and unapologetic. Being emotionally detached is useful in this situation. After 36 years of marriage, a man doesn't suddenly decide to end it. He had already left the marriage before the divorce was finalized because he didn't appear to care about anything or feel bad about his actions. This is terrifying to many Christians. Marriage is a vow to remain one for the rest of one's life, according to Mark 10:9. Even in the aftermath of a breakup, it's important to give forgiveness and reconciliation a go. Doug, however, makes it quite apparent in this leaked tape that he had no intention of ever wanting to make peace. Jonathan Lamb's handling of the talk has received a lot of praise. In contrast to Doug Weiss, Jonathan approached the issue calmly, methodically, and with a genuine interest in finding a solution. Leaked audio shows that Jonathan Lamb attempted to steer the discussion in a way that would facilitate healing. While he refrained from coercing Doug Weiss into a difficult conversation, He did raise valid points regarding mutual understanding and getting along, but we learned a lot from Doug's response. Arguments with Jonathan, rather than an honest discussion about his marriage, put an end to any possibility of reconciliation with Lisa. Because of this, we can distinguish between those who are still invested in their relationships and those who have moved on. Doug turned down Jonathan Lamb's offer to cope with the loss of his ex-wife. To tell the truth, there are some who would rather see war than peace. No amount of love, wisdom, or assistance will be enough to open the eyes of some people to the possibility of reclaiming what was lost. Because he refuses to even think about Jonathan's perspective, Doug's intense emotional state is obvious. Was the pain of his past too much for him to bear? Was he already convinced that divorcing Lisa Weiss was the best course of action? Had he lost interest, or what? For the time being, let us consider this. Being married for 36 years means sharing every high and low, creating a life together, adapting and supporting each other through thick and thin. How can you suddenly decide that it's not worth it to fight for any of that? It's not merely that their love has faded, all of their joint efforts are being abandoned. The concept of happily ever after remains popular among newlyweds, who often hold on to the ideals presented in fairy tales. However, the reality is that marriage necessitates effort, perseverance, and a commitment to mutual growth. When you've been in a committed relationship for 36 years, you've undoubtedly faced challenges. Whether Doug Weiss made every effort to preserve his marriage intact is the true question. Was this really his plan all along, or was he simply trying to avoid trouble? The process of getting a divorce is quite difficult. It has repercussions beyond the couple. Their spiritual community, friends, and even their children are taken aback by it. Marriages that have endured for many years are admired by many. They are an inspiration because of how loyal and persistent they are, but it's a major warning sign when someone quits after 36 years. Marriage has lost all significance in modern society, and this is a sobering reminder of that. Marriage, once thought to be eternal, is now viewed as a contract that either party can terminate at any moment. But what does this mean for the vow we made to love? Is marriage only worthwhile when it's easy, in your opinion? Must we perpetually stand up for them? Divorce is something God strongly disapproves of, according to the Bible, because the Lord despises divorce. He says it in Malachi 2:16, avoid hurting your partner's feelings and keep your heart safe. This conveys a powerful message. No marriage should be a temporary arrangement that can be dissolved when one partner's needs are met. Rather, it should be a vow to remain together forever. Christian marriages are on the rise, as Doug Weiss's story demonstrates. Instead of figuring out how to fix their issues, people just give up on their plans. To be honest, though, matrimony isn't a picnic. It necessitates letting go, forgiving, and having patience. Divorce shouldn't be considered as a first resort just because a marriage experiences difficulties. No one should dismantle the things that God has assembled, as stated in Mark 10:9. This is not merely a concept. I have an order. Marriage was intended by God to endure forever. However, in modern culture, individuals discard it as though it were insignificant. Doug and Lisa Weiss's decision to end their marriage so quickly and begin dating again sends the wrong message about the permanence of relationships. However, is that the way Christians ought to view marriage? Leaked audio from the divorce of Doug Weiss and Jonathan Lamb reveals more than simply a breakup between two men. A more serious issue in Christian marriages nowadays is revealed by this. Many individuals simply disappear. None of their relationships will stand up to them, and they always have an excuse for their actions but never really own up to their mistakes. Are you in agreement? Doug Weiss ought to have stood up for his spouse. Or was it all right with you that he moved on? Fill out the space below with your response. If you enjoyed this thought-provoking video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe to our channel and share it.